Greetings, I'm Dr. Robert Woods. This will be a brief introduction and tutorial overview of our civics course that we'll be making our way through over the next several weeks. The title of this presentation, Showing Every Consideration for All, is a quote from the Apostle Paul in his letter to Titus, where he encourages Titus to be considerate of all other people, of everyone. We'll also be exploring how living faithfully in two kingdoms has its roots in Augustine's City of God, where he calls Christians to consider carefully what it means to be faithful people who live in the city of God, but also in the city of man. Some have referred to this as dual citizenship. Well, what is civics? From a dictionary definition perspective, civics is usually defined as the consideration of the rights or privileges and the duties or responsibilities of citizens. So civics is not just a study of particular governmental orders. It's really more of a careful exploration and consideration of the rights and the duties of every citizen within a particular state or city-state. Civics uses the insights and resources from multiple disciplines, and when done well is a combination of sociology, history, political philosophy, literature, and anthropology. Simply put, when civics is done well as an academic course, it will bring in the insights from the humanities and the social sciences. This particular term, as we study together, we'll be considering and examining the role of religion, politics, urban planning, the habits of the hearts, that is, of each particular individual, how important the habits of those hearts are, and the various virtues that spring from that. We'll also be looking at social rituals, social trends, social institutions such as the family, religious institutions, educational institutions, and then cultural patterns. I think most of you will be intrigued to find out that various debates within the public square right now, whether it be about social identity or whether it be an issue of the American flag and the way in which different people respond to it, are all issues that will be explored within a good civics course, but explored and examined in a wide range. This is a quote from the Great Books of the Western World, the Essay on Citizenship, an important quote for us to keep in mind. The rank and status of citizenship first appeared in the ancient world with the beginning of constitutional government in the Greek city-states. The Greeks were conscious of this fact, and they were proud of it. In terms of it, they set themselves apart from who they declared to be the barbarians, who were subjects of the great king of Persia or the Egyptian pharaoh. One of the most unique topics that we'll explore very early within the course is the place of the city. We'll be dividing the class up within groups, small groups, to look at the way in which the city is described in Scripture. We'll also look at key passages of Scripture that deal specifically with the way in which the people of God or Christian citizens are called to live in relationship to the political powers in the world in which they live in, whether it be contemporary America or whether it be the Roman Empire or the old Soviet Union or parts of Latin America or Africa. All of these, for the Christian, are important to consider. What does it mean to be a citizen of God living within the city of man? As I already mentioned Augustine's City of God is an extremely important work where Augustine really is providing a Christian philosophy of history, but while he explores what it means to think as a Christian about history, he also says quite a bit about a kind of Christian civics, if you would. As a matter of fact, in the second part of the City of God, Book 9, Augustine provides his vision of the two cities, one earthly, the city of man, and one heavenly, the city of God. Reading scriptures closely, what he did in books 11 through 14, was he explored and made the case for living faithfully in these two cities, in the city of God and the city of man. One other extremely important source of our understanding of civics will come from the Renaissance. In the history of civics, civic humanism, or sometimes called classical republicanism, was established as a form of republicanism. That is, the citizens are sovereign, as opposed to a king or a group of rulers who are sovereign. The citizens are sovereign, or the people reign over themselves through various political bodies and social institutions. This idea is found early on in Aristotle's Politics, Polybius's The Histories, and Cicero's On the Republic and on the Laws. Now, we will actually read parts of and explore some of the ideas from these key authors as we make our way through primary readings this term. Classical and even American republicanism is rooted in a civil society, various civic virtues, and a robust democratic republic, which is a mixed government, and we'll explore that later on. We're going to also look at an important topic that many civics courses do not, but as a classical Christian school, this is very important for us on a couple of levels. American civil religion. It was Robert Bellah and others who came up with the notion of civil religion. Well, what is civil religion? It's not the same thing as Christianity. It's not the same thing as Judaism or Islam or Buddhism. But there is this notion that there is a kind of religion that has infused and worked its way through and permeated the American landscape. Robert Bellah actually defined it this way. He says there are certain common elements of religious orientation that the great majority of Americans share. That is, these values are expressed in a set of beliefs, symbols, and rituals. We'll be talking about those beliefs, those symbols, and those rituals. But it's important to remember two key points about American civil religion. First and foremost, for those of us who are followers of Christ, civil religion is not Christianity. In other words, it's one thing to say that 93, 94, whatever the percent currently is of Americans who believe in God. That is not the same thing as saying that 90-some% of Americans are practicing faithful Christians. Those are two very different realities. The second key point is this. Civil religion is a mixed bag. It can indeed do very important things and help the nation as a whole, specifically in the area of the cultivation of certain social and communal virtues. But it also can be very harmful when many American Christians buy into the notion that the United States of America is the people of God. The truth is, the scriptures make it very clear. The church is the people of God. We make up the people of God if you are in the church. The country as a whole can be a people that will be blessed by God or maybe experience the goodness of God in various ways, but America is not a Christian people as a nation. We'll explore this more as we go through the readings. We'll also be talking about a concept that was given to us from the sociologist James Davison Hunter. He wrote a marvelous book some years ago called Faithful Presence to Change the World. What Dr. Hunter does in this book is he challenges Christians to think differently about the way in which they engage the social and civic order. Here's a key quote from him that we will be referencing throughout the term. The best way for Christians to engage the world is not by setting themselves up in contrast to the world or in a direct assault on those who have a different view of how the world should be run. Instead, Christians should be a blessing in the context they find themselves, while at the same time maintaining their distinctiveness as a community or as a people. And we will be looking at and considering ways in which people can be, the people of God can be a faithful presence in America today. And finally, we'll also be talking about, and we're going to be reading a book by Os Guinness. Os Guinness, in his book, The American Hour, subtitled The Once and Future Role of Faith in America, explores the important role that religion in general, and faith in particular, the faith of the people of God, has had on America as the formation, as it has been formed through the ages. It is extremely important, though, as we consider this, that we recognize that the agenda or the priorities of the people of God are not always the priorities of the people of America. As a matter of fact, there are times those priorities are very different. So as we explore those and as we consider those, we will also highlight the role of faith in the formation of America, but also the role of faith in the formation within particular human people in America. I want to give a quote from Christopher Dawson in a book entitled Medieval Essays, and I think it bears on the moment we live in. Christopher Dawson says, Rome fell because it had lost its roots in the human soul and was growing more and more empty and sterile. We will give a careful look and consideration of current American social, political, and civic engagement so that we can ask the serious question, have we, like the Roman Empire, as a nation, come to that place where we're empty and sterile? Or we'll also look at, after we go through that, we'll also consider where there are elements and signs of genuine hope.